Peace be upon you. Welcome to the What Does Science Say channel. Today, we're diving into a fascinating argument that could change the way you think about wealth forever. What if the cash in your wallet isn't actually money? What if we've all been tricked into using a tool that slowly, silently drains our wealth?
It all starts with this really powerful idea you see here. Think about it. Every dollar you earn isn't just a piece of paper. It literally represents a piece of your time, a chunk of your life's energy that you've traded for it. Well, that leads to a pretty provocative question. What if that tool, that thing you use to store all that hard-earned life energy, has a hole in it? The core claim we're exploring is that we've been fooled, that we're using an imposter system that's doing just that. So, let's get into it.
Now, the argument is that this isn't just some flaw in the system. It is the system. And the key to kind of pulling back the curtain on this whole thing comes down to the difference between two very simple words.
And here it is. The central idea is that the entire world has been steered away from what the source calls genuine money and tricked into using something else, currency. And believe me, according to this argument, this isn't just a matter of semantics. It has enormous consequences for every single one of us.
And here's why that distinction matters so much. It all leads to a massive, ongoing transfer of wealth. The source claims that if you can understand how this transfer works, you can start to see a way to turn what it calls a coming crisis into a huge personal opportunity.
Okay, so what is the actual nitty-gritty difference between money and currency? Well, the source material breaks it down into 7 key properties, but one of them is the real game changer.
So what's really interesting here is how similar they are at first glance, right? Both currency and money are a medium of exchange. They're portable, you can divide them up. They share almost everything. But money has one extra, absolutely critical property that currency lacks. It has to be a store of value.
And that store of value property is everything. It's the whole ball game. The source argues modern currencies completely fail this test because governments can just print more whenever they want. And when they do that, they dilute the existing supply, which means your savings are diluted too.
This analogy really hits the nail on the head. You see, before 1971, paper dollars were basically claim checks for a certain amount of gold that was sitting in a vault. The paper ticket had value because it represented the real thing, the shirt or, in this case, the gold. Now, the argument goes, those dollars are just claim checks for nothing.
So, if our currency isn't backed by real money anymore, how has that little experiment worked out throughout history? Well, let's just say the track record on this is pretty startling.
Yeah, you're seeing that right. The source makes a truly shocking claim. Of all the government-issued, unbacked currencies, what they call fiat currencies, in all of human history, not a single one has ever survived. The historical failure rate, it argues, is 100%. Every single time.
And just to put this into perspective, some researchers started a project to catalog all the failed fiat currencies in history. They found over 600 of them just by getting part of the way through the letter B in the alphabet before they gave up. Every single one eventually became worthless. The argument here is that gold and silver have been the only constants holding on to their purchasing power for like 5,000 years.
So that brings us right up to today, and a word you've definitely been hearing a lot lately, inflation. But the source material defines it in a very specific and maybe different way than you're used to.
See, according to this definition, inflation isn't rising prices. Rising prices are just the symptom, like a fever. The actual disease, the cause, is the expansion of the currency supply itself. So think about this. When you see the price of groceries or gas going up, the source material says it's not that those things are suddenly more valuable. It's that the currency you're using to buy them is becoming less valuable. Its purchasing power is falling. And the main way this happens today is through some pretty complex-sounding programs.
I mean, just look at this chart.
It took the United States over 200 years to create its first $825 billion. But then, in just a tiny fraction of that time, that number exploded by trillions. And here's the really crucial part. This isn't just happening in one country. It's a global phenomenon. It's happening everywhere.
So, if pretty much all the world's currencies are being devalued at the same time, what happens next? Well, the source frames this not as some guaranteed disaster, but as a predictable event, one that presents both a huge crisis and an even bigger opportunity.
The argument is that this global wave of currency creation is setting the stage for what it calls the greatest wealth transfer in all of history. And what that means is, for people who actually understand what's going on, there is an absolutely immense opportunity on the table.
And why is this predictable? Because, the source argues, history shows this same cycle repeating over and over again. Step 1, a government prints a ton of currency. Step 2, the public starts to feel the pain when their savings don't buy as much anymore. Step 3, people instinctively rush back to the assets that have held their value for millennia, gold and silver. The only difference this time? It's happening in all countries at once, so the scale is just unprecedented.
So to wrap up the argument, the source uses this final, really simple test. Imagine you show 3 things to a kid: a pile of Monopoly money, a pile of US dollars, and a gold coin. The kid will almost immediately see that 2 of those are just colored paper, and 1 is obviously different and real. The professor, however, often overthinks it, insisting the US dollar is the real money. And that's really the final takeaway from this whole argument, that true financial education, not fancy degrees or credentials, is the key. It's about seeing the difference for yourself and being able to position yourself for what's coming next. The source concludes by challenging us to see the world through this new lens, turning what it sees as a historic crisis into a historic opportunity. Thank you for being with us until the end of this video. Please be sure to subscribe to the What Does Science Say channel and give us energy with your likes and comments. Share your comments with us and send the video to your loved ones so that others can also use it. Peace be upon you.